What is happening in Austin Men's Development? Steve Mayeda here, and we just got done with our rebuild call on Monday morning. Awesome stuff. Great way to start the day. We set a lot of different goals. What I want to talk about here is the immature masculine and feminine. And we hear this a lot. And thank God for guys like David Tien, amazing coach out there, one of the good guys. But we hear so much about masculinity in pain, reaching for certain points of life to be achieved, whether that's women, whether that's money, whether that's status, whether that's success. But what we hear is not a refined masculine or a righteous masculine or the true potential of our masculine and feminine. And the reason why I bring this up is because when you're going through a tough time in your life, whether that is a divorce or you're trying to come into your own, you're going through a breakup, you lost your job, you're starting a new business. But as men, we hit these points of pain in our life. We need to take it to our full potential, and we need to not buy into what just looks good, sounds good, and heals our immediate pain. We want to heal from within for strength, because when we do that, man, we build the great life that we've always wanted. All right, so this is what we're talking about today. Super awesome, as I said on our rebuild call that we just got done with. Man, we have really a populated group of guys working on Monday morning here. And it's super good. July 20th, 2020, we're setting up for the week on what we're gonna do. And if you're interested in rebuilding your life or resetting, you could check it out on the links down below. In July 2020, the Rebuild Challenge, it's $10 to be a part of, which is pretty good. I'm probably gonna raise it in August. Some hater on YouTube got mad at me for it, but here's the reality of it. For $10, you get 3 calls a week. You get a ton of PDFs. You get a bunch of stuff, man. For $20, it's still, I don't know anybody else in the men's development industry doing this much, as well as including all the free calls and the different things that we do here at Austin Men's Development. Like, man, it's a great deal. I really am doing something that is very important for men, at least what I feel and how I see them changed, and I hope you change from it. So that being said, let's jump into this topic of the immature masculine and feminine. Guys, when we go through a point of pain in our life, when we go through this area where we get rocked, we seek a hero, we seek a way of living that is going to work for us, right? That's going to take away our pain, that's going to allow us never to be hurt again, that's going to give us strength, and that's going to rebuild us in ways that we never wanted to before. When we're in that area, we're somebody that, we want guidance. We want to be led. We're going to see things a little bit unclear. And so we're going to go for the superhero. We're going to go for, the archetype of this badass dude, this warrior, this king, and all these things that are within you, right? And the true understanding of archetypes goes a little bit deeper than that, in which we've talked about on some other things. There's a bunch of content coming your way with that. We run into almost immediately the immature masculine and the immature feminine. And when we think about these traits of masculinity that we want so much, whether that's success, we see this hyper level of success. We see this larger than life. We see success in a distortion, but not in a true refined outcome. We see people partying. We see them on boats. We see them living the life. We see them as part of the social elite. We see success as defined by how society sees it, by how the masses will jump to it. Whereas true success, whether you're a man or a woman, is going to come in with your life purpose being fulfilled, your actions being fulfilled, your words being fulfilled, your manifestations being built and grown, and you living within that, right? We see sex as, this larger than life thing, like an abundance of sex and being able to have many women, or if you're a woman being validated by many men. And we start to see beauty as this thing which is, purely of Venus, or purely of, what's going to look good and get responses and likes and all this different stuff. When we look at our purpose, we see arrogance, we see confidence, or maybe false confidence. We see a lot of bolstering and bragging. And this trickles down to all the different virtues that we have. And when we're in pain, this looks good. When we're immature and when we're the young boy, this looks good. When we don't know what masculinity looks like or femininity looks like, this looks good. But I want to tell you something, because when we get to somebody who has reached a level of self-confidence, meaning faith in themselves, meaning that their outside experiences and how the world sees them or how they show the world is not going to change who they are in the center, right? They can stand alone on their own 2 feet. They have confidence. They can weather a storm. They could have everything and they could lose everything and their life changes very little. That is an example of the mature masculine or the mature feminine. So you got to understand, is the boy sees a man as somebody who's unafraid, who's strong, who looks strong. And when the boy tries to imitate that, he's going to be all those things. He's going to show it. It's going to be very important. The boy sees the man in terms of sex as somebody who has abundance, who has power, who has, women following him, who has all these experiences. And all those things can be good things. But I want to tell you, the man that is mature is terrified. Everything that scares you as a boy or everything that may scare you at a weak point in your life still scares a man who is strong. He just holds it better. Everybody that sees a man that is good with women or has his sex life in order or has women in his life or the woman or the queen or whatever you want to call it in his life, everybody sees him as like, man, it is power, it is control, it is authority. That's why she follows him. That's why these things happen. But in the reality of that situation, that mature masculine or that mature feminine is probably also afraid. It's less about power. It's more about choice. It's more about providing. It's more about allowing the abundance of human expression to come out than power and control. And it's interesting because we see this distortion happen all the time. Right now more than ever, but even when I was growing up and even 10 years ago, before Instagram was all nuts and all this stuff, and before we had social media, when I was 20 years ago, there was very little of that, but we always had that sort of image or iconic look for us to follow in what was good. That's fine. Every young man, every young woman goes through this growing pain. Every time we're in a point of pain in our life or a low point in our life, we go through this growing pain. But what's important is that we never lose voice of the real potential of what it means to be a man is. And the masculinity that is so important, like I always say, can be found on your street. The masculinity of what you're looking for, of what you're wanting to see, doesn't always have the bright lights and shiny objects. In fact, if you see the bright lights and shiny objects, I would actually get away from that because it's probably a lie. The masculinity that you're searching for, that confidence of what you want, that clarity of mindset, that ability to have relationships, that ability to have the money, the wealth, the status in your life isn't fueled by power, isn't fueled by control, isn't fueled by fear, isn't fueled by competition, but it is fueled by expression, choice, abundance, allowance. But in order to get there, in order to value it, every mature man had to go on his journey of the immature to understand that that wasn't the way to live. It had a point in a time. It has a place probably currently important in his life of when to unleash the immature at certain times, but it is not the thing which stabilizes. There's an interesting quote that I got from a podcast with Bill Murphy, great guy, super entrepreneur here in Austin. This guy's an amazing dude. I've done so many interviews with the guy, but they're really old. If you go back in 2012 and those times, is he said that if you want to be the best, right, it means there is no competition. If you want to be the best, you have no competition, right? If you get your life to be your best, if you get your life to be the absolute expression of self, if you can be that representation. I'm different than you, you're different than me. My body's going to react differently to different things. But if I can make my body the best, if I can make my mind the best, if I can make all the attributes about my life which matter, my relationships, my friendships, how I spend my time, my spirituality, my focus, all these different things the best, then guess what? I have no competition. And this is what we should be striving for. Yet, we try and achieve our own self-worth from trying to be what we perceive as the best. The problem is that perception of what we think is the best, usually comes from scarcity within us, saying we're not good enough. And man, it's night and day, easy to see when you've built up your life to be in a good place where you can respect yourself when you see the spam of the world out there sitting there saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm strong. I have muscles. I'm hot. I'm sexy. I have money. I have all these things. Like me, like me, like me. I'm just going to tell you right now, and everybody says this and everybody talks about that. If that is the ranking that you go for, you're going to have impoverished friendships. You're going to have impoverished relationships. You're going to have impoverished self-esteem. You're going to have an impoverished outlook on the world. And what you're actually believing in is the real lie. But hey, sometimes you got to get burned so you come back to the other side and you realize the real values of cultivation of what you're going to look at in your life. So remember that, man. When you're the best, there is no competition. When you are built up to your absolute self, man, that's the world you want. Because nobody can be you. And that doesn't mean you're better than other people. That doesn't mean you're less than other people. That means you found the pride within yourself and can deliver the most to the world around you. All right. Have a good Sunday. We will talk to you guys soon. Actually, it's Monday. Man, how did I mess that up?